Most liberals are racist. So it's a statement designed to provoke, to get a reaction, and to start a huge online argument. You've probably seen clips like this maybe from a heated school board meeting or a social media rant that get millions of views. It's like throwing a match into a puddle of gasoline and it works every single time. But what if the point of a statement like that has nothing to do with having a real conversation about race? What if it's not about finding the truth at all? And what if it's a sign of a much deeper, more dangerous problem spreading across America? So the real story here isn't about who is or isn't racist. It's about how our country pushed to the edge by fear and anger, or fear mongering, we can call it, is starting to see political violence not as something that could never happen here, but as a real possibility. So let's talk about what's actually going on. Before I talk about it, though, and expound on what I just said and get you guys' thoughts down in the comments below, check out this clip.
I've said it once and I'll say it again. There is nobody more racist than a liberal when they find out that you disagree with them. Liberals love to throw around the word racist. They say conservatives are racist, white people are racist, MAGA is racist, Republican is racist. And y'all are the only ones thinking about race 24/7. Y'all have been assuming that I'm Hispanic. I've heard someone say, go back to Guatemala. And then y'all comment con el nopal en la frente, soy asiática, bitch. I'm not Hispanic. Like, y'all are being rude. And the fact that even if I were Hispanic, you would try to use that against me is disgusting. I made a few videos with my friends. All of the comments are, there's a bean in the rice. Go back to Guatemala. Oh, it all makes sense now. She's trying to be white. People of color can't have white friends. You're disgusting. You're actually fucking disgusting. I didn't even think about the color of my friends when I was hanging out with them. I didn't think about the color of me when I was hanging out with them. Nobody is thinking about race except for liberals. Another thing, y'all tell people of color who to vote for like you're some white savior. Y'all all have the white savior complex, and liberals just love to tell people of color who to vote for. Like, Biden literally said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Okay? Y'all come in my comment section saying, because I voted red, because I made a decision for myself, you're racist against your own people. You're trying to be white. You should know the struggle. You're oppressed. The fact that you're telling me who I need to vote for and who all people of color need to vote for, that's oppression. Okay? Liberals just need some sort of oppressed group to pretend that they're allies with to get votes. That's literally all the Liberal Party has been doing. Listen to Malcolm X. He has said a white liberal pretending to be an ally is the most dangerous thing. Okay? He literally called that y'all were going to be on some bullshit. It's honestly just insane to me how liberals are thinking about race 25/8. And I already know the comments in this comment section are going to be like, oh, well, your hair is blonde. You're trying to be white. Shut up.
All right. So first, you need to understand why I claim like most liberals are racist. Most liberals are racist. It's such a powerful tool in the cultural war. On the surface, it's a massive generalization with no real facts to back it up. But its goal isn't to be accurate. It's a goal to turn the tables. For years, accusations of racism were mainly used to criticize conservative ideas. This new approach tries to take the same accusation and use it against the people who have been making it, and it's a way of using our own moves against them. This claim also connects with a very real frustration. So many people on the right, Republicans, feel like the word racist has been overused and has lost its meaning. And they believe it has changed from a serious accusation into a political weapon used to silence anyone who doesn't agree with liberal ideas. And that's exactly what it is. And this tactic also tries to point out what some see as hypocrisy. And conservative commentators say that while liberals claim to fight for the poor and working class people, their words often sound like they're talking down to the very voters they say they want to help. So, as one journalist said, many struggling Americans are looking for respect, not just financial help. And this builds a strong narrative of being the victim or running in the victim Olympics because the political fight is no longer just about policies, is presented as an attack on their values and a way of life. And it paints political opponents not just as people with different opinions, but as evil liars. And this isn't a debate anymore. It's a battle for who's morally right. And in that battle, facts are often the first thing to go be ignored. And the goal isn't to win over the other side, it's to get your own side fired up by confirming their worst fears that they are the ones who are really under attack. And that feeling of being under attack is a huge part of this story because for a long portion of the country, especially Trump supporters, there's a strong belief that their entire way of life is being threatened. And one study after another shows that many conservatives think, and this is the way they think, traditional American values are being purposely destroyed. And they feel disrespected and ignored by a culture they no longer recognize, a feeling that gets stronger with talk about white lives matter and the need to make men men again. And this isn't just about the fear of losing an election, it feels like a threat to their very existence. Political experts have known for a long time that making people feel like they are all victims together is the one of the best ways to unite them. When a leader says, we will be attacked, we will be slandered, and we will be persecuted just as I have been, it creates a powerful connection with supporters who also feel like they've been unfairly targeted. It turns into a political campaign, into a fight for survival. And this feeling that you personally are being treated unfairly is strongly linked to the support for Donald Trump. That's basically what it is. So basically, someone is basically playing off of survivors who are basically in survival trying to fend for themselves and take care of themselves, living paycheck to paycheck, but acting like they can resonate with them when they don't because they're in a whole different bubble and they nowhere near in survival mode as the people they are trying to gravitate to with their political campaign because they really can't resonate with you. But the only way you would know that is if you ask the right questions. And it creates a story where his supporters, Donald Trump, getting back to that, it creates a story because they always like to say bad man Trump, where his supporters aren't just followers, they are fellow victims in a struggle against a corrupt system. And this way of thinking is incredibly effective at building loyalty. And if you believe that you and your leader are the only ones left to defend the soul of your country, you're not just going to vote, you're going to fight. And for a growing number of people, that fight is becoming less of a figure of a speech, right? Because you see liberals all the time. You see more and more liberals now with Hakeem Jeffries and um what's her name? Hakeem Jeffries, you got Chuck Schumer, you got Jasmine Crockett, Ghetto Crockett, one of the ones that are saying that EBT is gonna get cut and our democracy is under attack when we are a constitutional republic, not a democracy. The voting process is democracy, but we're not a constitutional republic. I mean, we're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. Correction. So what I'm trying to say is they're invoking fear with fear monger, and now it's coming to the point where it's getting so extreme that violence are even being acted upon on law enforcement, who is there to protect the safety of Americans. So how do you figure that? So of course, the left see things completely different. When they hear this kind of talk, they usually react in much mix of anger, disbelief, and more of their own warnings, right? They see the liberals or racist claim as a dishonest trick meant to change the subject from what they see as truly dangerous policies coming from the right, the Republicans. But a very worrying trend is starting to show up here because while right wing extremists has been behind most of um in their mind, deadly domestic terror attacks in the US, some on the left are now starting to use more aggressive language themselves. And there is evidence that some on the far left have tried to excuse or even defend violent acts, calling them a justified fight against an unfair system. And that's that extreme violence that I'm talking about. So this shows a dangerous escalation. The number of violent acts might not be the same, but the reasoning, the way of violence is being justified is starting to sound scarily similar more so on the Democratic side because you don't see Republicans when they lose elections trying to sit there and invoke violence, right? You don't see as much things on the Republican side if they disagree. You don't see the Republicans if you disagree with them, they try to oust you out. Like you either got to agree with them or you ain't gonna be a part of whatever they got going on. So if you look at it, political violence has definitely grown amongst Democrats, and people on the left could be more willing to support violent actions against what they see as an abusive right wing government. And this is especially true amongst activists, where the feeling of being in a desperate fight against fascism, which if you ask most of the individuals what fascism mean, they can't say it. It's just a talking point that most democratic individuals use, can convince some that extreme actions are the only choice left. And the language starts to sound like it's the end of the world. When leaders paint their opponents as a literal threat to, in their words, democracy, and it can lead their followers to believe that anything is okay to stop them. And this is the scary cycle we're all trapped in, where you have the extreme liberal side of the Democratic Party responding every chance they get to the Republicans. So it's pretty clear we're in a dangerous spot, right? And the language gets more extreme every day. But what do you think is the biggest thing driving this division? Is it the media, the politicians, or something deeper in our culture? Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments. And if you're getting some value from this breakdown, please take a second to subscribe and hit that notification bell. It's the best way to support what we're doing and stay in the loop. So, look, it's just not about angry words. The United States is facing a big increase in political violence and threats. And if you look into the chaos of the 1970s, the Department of Homeland Security now considers domestic political violence one of the top threats to the nation's safety. And with the media, in my opinion, being so divisive, you got the CNNs, the MSNBCs not covering the truth. They're covering what they want to cover and being biased politically because obviously they don't like Donald Trump. That even makes things more worse. But let me know you guys' thoughts down in the comments below. Peace.